I am an absolute bum with 5,000 hours on Rust. And what I want to talk about today is the stigma that Rust is no longer enjoyable or the old Rust was better because there's a lot I want to get off my head. We're going to be reacting to this video by Stellic. Very well made. I watched about half of this video before I started recording, but I really want to start recording because I really want to talk about this and I feel like from my perspective Rust is in the best state it's ever been in, and I've been playing since like 2020. So obviously I don't have experience past that, but I want to bring in some of the perspective as somebody who has as many hours as me, as somebody who's been playing like in the style I've been playing. Like I play mostly solo, which means that I have a lot of experience, with the nerfs that happen to solos, the buff that happens to solos, everything that happens in between, and what I think would make the game better. But I want to contrast that with what kind of the majority consensus is. So I kind of want to watch this video and give my critiques on it, if that makes sense. Give some whatever, insight. So let's get started.
I've been playing Rust for over 10 years now, ever since Rust
Okay, so this guy does have more experience than me. I'll give him that.
Legacy
He's been playing way longer than me.
came out. During that time, I've made a lot of real friends in this game.
Facts, dude. I mean, some of the friends I've made in this game, like, genuinely are some of the realest people I know.
Found a passion and a hobby, and
I think that's what we all love about Rust. Is it just I don't know.
now I even make a living thanks to this channel and all of you. For
Nice.
me, Rust is much more than just a game. It's a
True.
big part of my life. But
Unfortunately, same.
unfortunately, with every new update, this game just keeps getting worse and worse. And from the feedback I've seen,
I feel like most updates generally improve the game. There are some that take steps back, but I feel like majority of the updates improve the game, improve the kind of broken progression. The progression will never be perfect in this game, and people will always complain. But I want to say, I think progression wise, we've been at the best spot we've been in a while. And I know it doesn't seem like that because it's still not a good progression system. I still don't love the progression system, but remember, BP frags kind of need to be a thing, okay? And because here's the thing, if we remember what happened before BP frags were a thing, the progression in this game was an absolute just it was so awful because what would basically happen is you spawn in, big groups build up big monuments and sit there the entire wipe. They don't leave their monument because why would they? They literally just need to get enough scrap for a tier 3, then they have everything in the game. Nowadays, it's still kind of similar. Groups will build next to monuments. Bigger groups will build next to bigger monuments. That's always true. But the thing is that, the group from Trainyard is going to be a big group. It's going to be well established, but they're going to have to leave their area inevitably if they want to reach tier 3, which I think is really good. And same thing with, I'd say, even tier 1 players. Solos like me, I'll mostly be at a tier 1 monument, but eventually, like, I really have to force my way out and find a way to go to a different monument to get maybe a tier 2, just those couple extra frags is huge, or go to a tier 3 monument so I can get a tier 3. But either way, it's forcing players just away from roof camping a monument. It's still not a perfect system, but it's a lot better than just the get scrap system. I think the get scrap system was too easy for clans to just literally not do anything, sit at a monument on top of the roof with a bolt action sniper, which they got 30 minutes into wipe because they just controlled their monument because they have numbers. And that's all I'm going to say for now.
I'm definitely not the only one who feels that way. So this video is more like a message to the developers and my vision on how to turn
This fit is hard. I'm not going to lie. The horse hat is so tough.
Rust into the perfect survival game again. I kindly ask you to like this video and leave a comment below so that more people can see it and the developers really take notice. Let's make this game better together. And the first thing they need to fix as soon as possible is their anti-cheat system, because cheaters in Rust are a huge problem. And I can suggest a few really good ways to do this. The first method is the simplest and most effective one.
Okay, hold on. Before he gets in the methods of fixing anti-cheat, I just want to say real quick, once again, we're also in the best place we've been. But unlike the blueprint fragment system, it's still not a good place to be. It's a pretty bad place to be. The thing is, though, I will say this. If you are playing on premium servers, which you should be, all you have to do is like spend $15 in the game. I don't really run into cheaters. I'm going to be honest. I'm just going to say it, I don't really run into cheaters. Sure, it'll happen every couple wipes. It's a lot better than it was. It used to be every wipe I'd run into a cheater. Now it's pretty hard for me to run into cheaters nowadays. But if I play non-premium, obviously the chance is higher of that. But I feel like a lot of people just don't understand the skill gap in this game. And I feel like when a lot of people die, they blame it on cheats. Occasionally it is cheats, okay? Because cheaters, it is objectively pretty easy to cheat in this game. But I will say from experience, 1 to 2 years ago, it was absolutely atrocious. The cheating in this game was it was so infuriating because everybody who killed me, I'd report, they'd get banned for cheating. Nowadays, if I even suspect somebody's cheating, I'll report them. I won't get a ban message because likely they weren't cheating. There is a good skill gap in this game, and I feel like a lot of people complain about cheaters without actually dying to cheaters. Yes, they are a problem. Are they as big as a problem as people think? No. Is it still ridiculously easy to cheat in this game? Yes. So that's all I'm going to say about that. And also, I want to say, I think if you play modded, I'm not a big modded player. I'm mostly vanilla, but I've noticed like on modded, it's a lot more common to run into cheaters than it is vanilla. So for all my modded players out there, I kind of want to know. Leave your thoughts in the description because I'd imagine it's much worse on modded because it's a much more of like little kids, who are immature and just want to, I don't know, win at a game.
Face Punch could just use another anti-cheat system, like Faceit anti-cheat.
This is a very good system, so I'll see if he
For
explains it. Hold on.
example. Yes, it won't be perfect, but in any case, it's much better than what's happening now. I don't know how much it will cost the company, but if the developers really want to get rid of cheaters, Rust needs a strong anti-cheat. Second, there
Okay, so he didn't really explain it, but how Faceit's anti-cheat work? I play CS, but and Faceit is how CS runs its anti-cheat. Faceit is a very good anti-cheat. It's very similar to Valorant's anti-cheat. And if you don't know, basically it gives really intrusive access to your computer, like unbelievably intrusive. Like I'm pretty sure they could do whatever they want to your computer. I'm not entirely sure, but I know it's really unrestricted, like what they can do with your computer. However, with that trade-off, it's a really good anti-cheat. And basically, they always know what's happening on your computer, so they can really easily catch cheats. I don't think this is a solution that's like generally applicable. Here's what I would suggest, and I think this idea has been thrown around, but have an opt-in system where the players who want a more hardcore experience can opt in to have that intrusive anti-cheat. But if you just want to play and you don't want to give intrusive access to your computer and you're just kind of a casual player who doesn't really, maybe you get cheated on, maybe it's not a big deal, you don't have to opt in. So there's this opt in for servers, where people are serious about the game. And if you want to play the game seriously, you have to opt into the anti-cheat that's intrusive. But otherwise, you can still just stay on, you don't have to give Face Punch access to everything you ever do and will ever do.
should be
So
3 levels of premium servers. For example, Silver,
I don't know about this. I told you this is not. I got like halfway through this video before I started recording.
Gold,
I'm gonna
and
I'm gonna let
Diamond.
him finish,
On
but
silver
I'll get my
servers,
talks.
everything will remain the same. To play on them, you just need to have Rust skins in your inventory that are worth at least 15 bucks. That's all. To play on gold servers, you need to spend at least
See, this is where I feel like I don't really know because first off, you already spend $40 to pay the game, so $50. I mean, also the difference if you're willing to pay 15, likely you're willing to pay 50. So I don't even think it would increase the like gap that much. Like it really wouldn't be, that much crazier. And then also 300 hours in Rust. I mean, realistically, as far as Rust goes, if you're not a big Rust player, I mean, 300 hours isn't hard to hit, but also it could be kind of that gap where your new friend is getting into the game and you all want to play on this gold server that this guy's proposing, right? And your friend can't. He's never going to get into the game. And I feel like that'll just limit the amount of new players coming in, which is just bad for the overall like ecosystem of the game. Like we want this game to have an active player base because that's what makes it fun. Playing on a server with pop is a lot of fun. We don't want this game to die where just old players are left. That's kind of the problem with old Recoil is old Recoil was a fantastic system. I love the recoil. I love the skill gap in the game. But what it left is it just left hardcore players playing Rust. That's it. Hardcore players were playing Rust and there was no new players coming in. Now there's new players coming in. But if this was a thing and people had to have 300 hours to play a server, I feel like it would be that same kind of restriction where nobody's going to actually be able to play the game. And new players are just going to quit because they can't play with their friends over here who've been playing for a while. And it, even if you don't have friends, which I'm sorry, but if you don't have friends and you hop on and you're not gonna want to grind out 300 hours just to play some of the servers in the game. Like that would just be stupid, annoying, and also, if you need 300 hours, that means all the cheaters are gonna be over here where all the new players are, and then all the new players are just gonna get killed by cheaters, and it's like then they're just gonna quit. So this just
50
creates a
bucks on
bad
Rust
system.
skins or DLCs and have at least 300 hours in the game. And to play on the Diamond servers, you
Okay, I know most of you guys are gonna think this is crazy. I kind of agree with him here. However, I know this will just never happen. Like this is an improbable system that'll never happen. But I don't even think it should be Rust like this. I think it should just be all video games. Like all competitive video games, CS, Valorant, Rust, Fortnite, whatever. You have to like if you want to play like a serious competitive mode, you have to hook up your ID. So if you cheat, you're just banned from all those video games, like all of them for playing competitive. Because if you cheat once, I mean, sure, there's like little kids who cheat and don't know what they're doing, but I feel like if you cheat once, you shouldn't be given a second. I'm really serious about this. If you cheat once, I don't like giving second chances to somebody, especially with a game like Rust. I feel like Rust is particularly scummy to be cheating in because it's like if you're cheating in Rust and you kill somebody with their full metal AK, they've been playing for maybe a day or two, or even, I mean, some players, maybe if you're not that great at the game, with all due respect, I'm not dissing you, but maybe a week to get that kit, and it's really important to you, and you finally got the courage to roam it, and then you just get killed. The thing is, the progress, if you get cheated in a game in Valorant, it lasts 30 minutes, it's an awful experience, horrible, quit the, like it's annoying, it's frustrating. But if you lose 12 hours of progress, it's a lot different than losing 30 minutes of a game. It's so much different. And that's all I'm gonna say.
don't need to have any skins
But I don't think ID verification will ever
or
happen.
a certain number of hours played. But you do need to pass the ID verification using the Rust app on your phone. That way, even if you caught cheating on Diamond servers, you won't be able to join them anymore from a different account, because your ID will be permanently banned. Also, I think that all official servers should have the same ban list. So if the player
I agree with this. I think Facepunch should do a really good job at making sure official moderators are good and fair, and that cheaters get banned fairly. In that case, there's this golden standard for banning cheaters. Cheaters just get banned off all servers. I think that's a very good system. I know one of my friends cheated because he's an absolute just. I don't know why you would ever cheat, but he cheated. I think he cheated in CS, but he only got banned off certain servers in Rust, and I was so confused because, like, as much as he is my friend, and I don't want him to get banned, he kind of deserves to be banned off every server. Like he was not banned permanently on any server because he didn't cheat on Rust, he cheated on CS. But I think you should be banned on every server if you're caught cheating, and I just don't think you should be allowed to play them again on that account ever. And maybe for community servers, maybe not, but all official servers, if you get caught cheating on one, banned on the other. Now, that's not to say all bans, like if you get chat banned on one server, you shouldn't be banned on another, but cheating, yes.
gets banned on one of the official servers, they won't be able to connect to any other server. And the last thing that will also help in the fight against cheaters is an AI assistant. We already have a wide range of live stats platforms that show all player statistics in real time on all
This would be good to like highlight who like the admin needs to pan to, but like I said earlier, this game is a very skillful game. There's gonna be players with really high KDs, even if they're not cheating.
servers. All they need to do is implement an AI bot that will analyze player statistics in real time using such platforms. As soon as a player starts racking up unusually high stats, or runs at super high speeds, or jumps much higher than usual, this AI bot should detect it
I agree,
and
yeah.
send the information to the server admins,
It would be very hard for Facepunch to do that, but I think that's realistically a good idea.
and they will monitor the player. If he's actually using a cheat, it becomes obvious very quickly, so he gets banned, and the problem is solved. I guarantee that if they use all three of these methods, there will be practically no cheaters left in the game, and those who remain will have to pay a huge amount of money for cheats. Next, I think the developers should bring back the survival aspect to Rust
Okay, this is where I want to start recording because this was an interesting topic.
and make it the main focus. Rust shouldn't be all about endless PvP and raids. It should be more about survival, atmosphere, and tough decisions.
So, Real quick, I mentioned I started playing in about 2020. This was how Rust felt in 2020. Like genuinely, in my opinion, this is how Rust felt in 2020. You would walk around the map. I would be scared of the woods making noise. I had the in-game music on. I was horrified of everything. I'd go to Oxum's gas station in the middle of the night with my DB recycling like three tarps, and I was scared. I was scared. I was shaking in my because those three tarps I needed to bring back to my base. So I had cloth for the next month to survive. And it used to feel like this. It used to feel really like scary, and you're on edge all the time. But now it is just it's very much a game about PvP, I guess. But I I don't mind it. I like the PvP aspect, and I'm gonna as much as I think I liked Old Rust. I really did like Old Rust, but I feel like that survival element was less fun than the new PvP meta that we currently have. I'm just gonna say I think it was less fun. And here's the thing: if you want that survival aspect out there, I have found games like Escape from Tarkov that are amazing, like seriously amazing in delivering that old Rust survival experience. Obviously wouldn't be the same as Rust because you don't really have a base exactly, but it it very much it honestly captures that old Rust feeling better than old Rust did, like playing a game like Tarkov. So if you haven't
About
tried
the player's
Tarkov, check it out.
struggle against the game world. These days, players are most afraid of other players,
True.
but they should actually be afraid of the game world and its environment itself. That way, they'd be forced to team up with their neighbors to
That's interesting. Kind of like Arc Raiders is right now. That's kind of how Arc Raiders is, where there's drones everywhere, so people team up. But I feel like Rust is different in Arc Raiders, where no matter how hard you make the environment, you could make scientists with a billion health roaming the map and just absolutely one tapping players. But I think Rust is a game where players will always fight each other. Because here's the thing, right? In Arc Raiders, you get sent into a 30-minute raid at max, basically, and you're bringing in not a lot of gear. I mean, you could be bringing in a lot of gear, but the point is, the gear in Arc Raiders is maybe like a fraction as valuable it is in Rust. Like the best kit in Arc Raiders, like a Venator 4 with like I don't know heavy armor, would maybe it's not easy to get, but it's not hard to get either. But a full metal AK set in Rust is like worth like 10 times a Venator 4 in Arc Raiders, and it's like because of that, I don't think players will ever team up just because there's that potential of killing somebody with an insane gear set, bringing it back to your base, and you have it. It's like the greed is so much higher in this game than in Arc Raiders because the gear is so much more valuable in this game than in Arc Raiders. I think it'd be
face
very hard to get Rust to be a game where people team up in. And honestly, I feel like it wouldn't even be
the
better.
challenges around them. And I have at least 10 ideas that would definitely
And also, we already do have events that are decently hard, like Oil Rig. We have, Deep Sea. We have, Taking Bradley. We have Taking Heli, which is pretty hard. I mean, for the group size I play in, but it's like there are these in-game events that are,
make this game much
challenging
more
still.
interesting. First, we need a complete change of the mechanics of cold, heat, hunger, and thirst. It should actually be more difficult for players to play when it's too cold or too hot. They'll have less vision, be slower.
I just think this would get annoying. I'm gonna be honest. Like, I really just think this would be annoying. I don't think this would make people fight the environment in the game. I feel like Rust is inherently a PvP game, not a PvE game. And also, I want to bring in factors like there is a sense of thirst in that meaning. Like for example, this might be if you live in the snow or the desert, cloth is a very hard resource to come by. So you're fighting to get that cloth. There are these environmental factors where, there's certain things that are harder to find in one biome than the other. If you're in the desert, wood is an absolute nightmare to get. So you have to fight against the environment in that sense to get enough wood to survive. It's like there are these environmental factors that do play. They aren't like hunger or thirst, but like I was saying earlier, if you want a game where hunger and thirst challenges you, go to Tarkov and see how miserable that is. I mean, it's a part of Tarkov, and Tarkov is built around the survival aspect more than Rust is, and it's miserable, which is nice in that game because the game's supposed to be kind of survival. But I feel like in Rust it would just be miserable in a bad way. Like in Tarkov, it is actually still miserable in a bad way in Tarkov, but it makes sense in Tarkov. I don't think it makes sense in Rust because it would just add another thing that's just really annoying to do. Not to mention that growing food in the snow or desert, you'd need like a heater. You'd have to be like at least tier 2 to actually sufficiently grow food or something. And animals, if food was that big of a concern, animals would be non-existent because everybody would just be killing them, which means that it would be really hard to find food. And
Be unable
I mean, people would fight the environment, but it would just be in a bad
to
way.
sprint for long periods, have more difficulty jumping, lose way more calories and water, and so on. Can you try to remember the last time you ran out of water or food? That's exactly the point. Water and food currently have absolutely no effect on the player.
They should have more of an effect on a player, but I don't think like a drastic,
And in my
effect.
opinion, that's simply not right, especially when it comes to a survival game.
I feel like food, especially like you eat 5 pumpkins and you're just full for the next like until you die, basically. Um, I guess they could make it more of a challenge, like make it something where maybe that run to Oxums, where you find a water bottle in the tool crate or food crate is actually like a valuable thing, because then you're hyped about getting some water. That I mean,
Next,
it would be cool, but I don't know if it would be the type of Rust we're
they should
looking
change
for.
the radiation. Radiation should
Interesting.
have real
This is kind of where I stopped watching, so this is new.
life consequences, like making you sick and dizzy, and it should
Once again, something that Tarkov kind of has
only be
to an
treatable
extent.
with anti-rot pills and other special medications. This way, players will be much more careful when they come to monuments, which makes the loot on this
Interesting, but you could always just F1 kill and go back to base. And I feel like radiation, is kind of violent enough already. It's kind of weird. Radiation is, if you stack up like 400 radiation, it'll kill you real
monuments
quick.
more valuable. Also, they should change a hazmat suit. The game should have two types of hazmat suits. The handmade one,
Okay.
which is currently available, and the industrial one, which players will need to put together from different parts, just like in the old
That would get tedious, but let's see where he's going
Rust.
with it.
And these parts will only be available in military or elite grades.
So what he's saying is that you have to get good parts for a hazy in these crates, which are only mainly going to spawn in like monuments with higher radiation. I don't know. That just it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
If you're using the handmade suit, you can get into tier 1 and tier 2 monuments. And if you're using the industrial hazmat suit, you can get into tier 3 monuments, like launch site and military tunnels.
I like the idea that maybe there should be a tier 3 hazy. I don't think it should I think it should be craftable, and I don't think it should be that hard to get. Um and or maybe it's like a tier 2 hazy, maybe you get the normal hazy in tier 1 and then in tier 2 you get the tier 2 hazy. Cuz the thing is that there are, way too many grubs that'll just, like for example, Milton's right here, you go inside with your duo with a, maybe you're tier 2 at the time, you go in with a SAR Tommy, and then there's two kids with a DB just waiting on the way out, and it's really hard to counter, to be honest. Like it's really hard to get out of Milton's. And it's like there's too many of these like low level players in high tier monuments, which gets really annoying really quick, especially launch site too. Like if you're trying to take Bradley in 2025 or 2026, sorry, I guess I'm stuck in the past, but it's just an absolute nightmare. Like I'm being so serious. Like it's because you got DB kids in the corner, you got maybe Revo kid who gets you to 1 HP, then you have serious threats like people tier 2 and up, and it's really hard to take Bradley.
Also, even now we
But
can
yeah.
see that the hazmat suit has tanks on the back,
Oh, this is a weird
but
thing.
they aren't being used at all. And I think the hazmat suit should have the same mechanics as the diving tank. If you want to use it for radiation
Like you can go underwater?
protection, you need to fill the tanks with oxygen, using the first or second workbench. Only then will you be able to access the first and second tier monuments. But
Maybe for tier 3 that would be a good
Only-
idea. But I feel like tier 2 monuments shouldn't have crazy amounts of radiation. Like Tier 2 monuments make sense for grubs to be there. Tier 3, not exactly, but
for a limited time,
I don't know.
until you have oxygen in the tank. And to get to the top tier monuments, you need to get all parts for the industrial hazmat suit, fill the tanks with oxygen, and maybe get additional filters, like in gas masks.
That would just be too tedious in my opinion. Like imagine spending your whole wipe to collect each infinity stone to enter a launch site for one time to go hit a couple barrels. I mean like really?
Only then will you
Really?
be safe from the radiation at
And also, like I was saying earlier, he's suggesting these spawn out of mill crates and elite crates, and like elite crates spawn in tier 3 monuments. So you're saying you can't go into a tier 3 monument to get the parts to go into a tier 3 monument? I mean, that's
this
kind of
monument.
crazy, you know? Like it would be like, you know, you sit the all wipe hoping train yard spawns all 5 infinity stones out of the like 3 elite or 3 mill crates in there, which probably wouldn't have a crazy chance just to go into launch. I
And
mean,
you'll
that's
be
kind of
able to take
ridiculous.
all the loot.
I don't really agree with all this.
I think
And then also clans would just have these, you know? It would just be a so big nerf to solos and small groups because small groups would never be able to get these. Clans would have infinite supplies because they'd be running the tier 3 monuments always. It's just an objective buff to clans.
this will make the loot from monuments much more valuable and make the game more challenging. Another thing they can add is mutated animals from Rust Legacy. They should only be spawned near monuments with high radiation and guard the entrances to the keycard rooms. If you think that
So he's just saying like a more annoying version of scientists. I'd say scientists are already annoying
this
enough.
will make the game too difficult, then these animals could be added only for the Halloween event.
I mean, there's like I said, there's already, you know, a threat protecting the monuments, which are scientists. There doesn't need to be like radiation animals fighting you too. I don't know.
To see how players like it, I think it would be a great addition to the other Halloween stuff in the game.
For Halloween, it could be kind of cool. I like that.
The next big change is going to be rebalancing recoil to make it more random, which should help get rid of macros and combat nerds.
Okay, I agree. Recoil needs to be changed, but Valorant has a random recoil pattern. For those of you who don't know, it has a random recoil pattern. In CS, it's a recoil pattern that never changes. It stays completely the same. In Valorant, it's random, and it's to discourage spraying. But I'd say I like having a skillful recoil instead of just a random pattern because we already have enough RNG when it comes to guns in Rust because each gun has an aim cone, which I don't know how to explain it, but basically, you know, if you're up close to somebody, you're gonna hit them, but further away, your bullets are gonna spread a lot more per shot. Like your bullet will never go where you're aiming exactly, pretty much. So there's already some RNG. Why would we add more?
They need to make something similar to the first version of Recoil from 2016 Rust, when even the first bullet could fly to a random spot. Also, the developers will have to add a recoil control module to the game, which will
Weird.
minimize randomness and reduce recoil. However,
I mean, I guess that could make sense, but I'm not sure.
it cannot be crafted and can only be found in elite grades. This will make PvP
So another buff to clans?
way more fun, because it gives new players a chance against PvP chats.
So you're saying so the PvP chads, by the way, are going to be the players that get to tier 3 the quickest, which means that they're going to have the recoil decreaser attachment, which means that new players are going to have a random annoying recoil, and skilled players are going to have like a laser gun. I don't know about that.
Now, let's talk about how to balance large groups, clans, and solo players.
Okay. All right. I'm interested to see. Most of the things in this video, I'd say buff clans. Pretty much every change you make to Rust buffs clans, by the way. It's very hard to make a change that's a buff to solos, but we'll see what this has to say.
First of all, I really want them to get rid of that stupid green UI and the group menu, and I'm sure that I'm not the
I think that would be an interesting change because that's how Rust used to be if you didn't know. I think that would be a good change. I think it would be a fun change. The thing is, Rust also tried this with their hardcore mode and then nobody played it. I just want to put that out there, but this is how it is in Tarkov. You can't see your teammate's name. And I think that would create that would be a very good buff to solos and small groups is because they'd be able to communicate better. You know, an 8-man clan's gonna have everybody like geeking in their comms, having no clue who's who, while you and your friend are, you know, grubbing them with DBs in their compound. That would be kind of sick. That would be I'd like that change. Very good change.
Only one who feels that way. The game needs to bring back the good old jump check. Plus, there are already a million clothing skins in the game that
It would actually be a really cool buff to skins. You know, people would be buying skins, and there'd probably be some sort of economy. Like there's an economy for Rust skins, but it would be like an economy similar to CS skins, where it's like, you know, skins have more value than they do because skins don't have a crazy amount of value right now. Only the pay to win ones are expensive, and I feel like that would be kind of cool, you know, to have some of these other skins come more expensive because people want to blend in. People want to, you know, be the same color as their clan.
almost nobody uses, unless they're camo sets. But if you get rid of the green dots above your teammates, the only way to tell teammates apart from enemies will be to use skins. First of all, this will generate plenty of revenue for developers, as more players will be buying clothing skins. And second, it will benefit solo players by adding an element of randomness. So, in my opinion, it's a win-win change. And for those who don't have skins,
Well, it's a win for the it's a win for the solos. It's a big not win for the clans.
or don't want to spend money, they could just add armbands to the game, like in DayZ for
True, true. They do this in Tarkov too. It's a decent system, but it is still kind of hard to tell who's on your team. But
example.
it would be a cool
The
idea.
next change should affect quarries.
Okay, weird, because I think quarries are kind of in the best spot they've been in a while, but I'll see what he has to say.
For example, the quarry should break down after an hour of use, and to fix it, you need to find some repair components, which you can only find in
Which the clans are going to have access to.
military or elite grades. This won't let clans keep getting resources for free forever, which will help balance the game a bit.
I guess. But as somebody who's a solo, I build on a quarry every single wipe. And quarry is my main way of getting resources, controlling the area. And clans do run these, but when they do, they just run it for like 3 or 4 diesel. They're not running it for longer than an hour usually. And I play servers that are like usually like 500 pop above that occasionally. So it's like I'm not playing like complete bum servers, and it's like I usually actually end up running the clan, or I usually run the quarries way more than as a solo than these clans do. I mean, I remember last wipe, literally just last Thursday, I sat there with 20 diesel just running quarry second day into wipe and just selling it all in my shop and making my base pretty much unraidable, and nobody stopped me, and there wasn't clans interfering really. I don't know. I don't know.
Also,
I feel like quarries are a monument that clans actually tend to overlook recently. I feel like excavator is what clans are after, but quarry the clans don't really care about as much. Maybe sulfur quarry. Sulfur quarry probably is what he's talking about, because HQM quarry is not really super contested, and stone quarry nobody except for like small groups are going to contest that.
I
So
think it's time to change the upkeep system. For example, the more sleeping bags and beds there are in the base from different players, the more resources will be needed
that could be kind of cool.
to maintain the base.
But also, what about a solo player who has like 10 bags so that they can respawn and defend a raid from different points in the base? Like, I know when I play solo, I have a bag in core, I have a bag in second floor, third floor, shooting floor, tower. I have a bag in each of the externals. So my upkeep would be as expensive as like an 8-man clan, you know?
Or they can make it even simpler. The more players are authorized in the TC, the more
Okay, there you go. That's how you could do it.
resources this TC will consume.
I think that's an absolutely fair change.
Because the more players
That would make it so the groups don't just have ridiculously big bases, like obnoxiously big bases. I'm not saying groups can't have big bases. Big bases are cool, and I love that, you know, there's these big clan fights where, you know, we're building insane raid bases. But I mean, that just means like a solo is gonna have like no competition against a big group. Like a solo's base will never be even close to a big group, and maybe just closing that gap a little bit could be a good
there
idea
are in a single base, the
by making them have to farm more for
more
upkeep.
resources they'll have, which means they'll have to spend more on the upkeep to keep things balanced. And finally, I think it's about time to bring back the old XP system and combine it with current blueprints and work
The problem is the blueprint system is kind of an XP system if you think about it. It's like, however much XP you have is basically how much scrap you have. And then you can spend your XP on whatever you want in the workbench to unlock it.
benches. Using the XP system, players won't be able to craft an AK in the first few hours after the wipe, because
That's fair, actually. I kind of like
it's
that.
simply impossible. AK will only be available at level 40, and it will take at least 15 hours to reach that level. If
15 might be a bit much to get to AK. And the blueprint fragment system already kind of creates a natural timer of how quick it is for groups to access because they had to get the cards, run the monument, wait for the monument to respawn, wait for it to respawn again, which would probably take like 3 hours realistically. So maybe making tier 3 fragments harder to come by, I guess, maybe could
you
be the
combine this
solution.
XP system with the current workbenches, scrap, blueprint fragments, and research system, then the game will become more balanced. Clans won't be able to craft AKs just 4 hours after the wipe, making it much easier
Fair, I
for solo
guess.
players and small
Still a weird change to implement. I feel like it would just be impractical, but I'm not
groups.
sure.
Plus, it will make the game more logical and bring back the real progression. These are probably the only changes I'd really like to see in the game in the near future. And if you have any ideas on how to make Rust better, please write them in the comments below.
Okay, I know I dished on this guy a lot in this video. I'm not gonna lie. Like, with all due respect, I did kind of diss on him, except for the first couple points. I feel like we're pretty good. I feel like this is coming more from like an old like Rust player's perspective, where I'm more of this like new gen Rust player. Like, I started 2020, and kind of fell in love with the more PvP version of the game. A couple things I want to end on. There's always this stigma that like making things harder to get means that it'll be easier for everyone to get. Like, a lot of his points were saying like, you should only be going into a tier 3 monument if um if like you should only be going into a tier 3 monument if you have this certain insanely hard to get hazmat suit. Then clans are just going to be running it. No solo will ever touch launch site in the entire wipe, and I feel like that's not how the game should be. And I feel like I said at the start of the video, the blueprint fragment system is a pretty good system for now. It's still, there needs to be adjustments to it because as somebody who as a solo player, I can get tier 2 pretty consistently between hour 1 to 5 of wipe is when I'll usually have my tier 2. However, tier 3, I can almost never get day 1. It's just pretty much impossible to get day 1. And maybe they intended it to be like that, but the problem is that groups around me will always be tier 3, and like this guy said, like 4 hours into wipe, and there's not really much I can do about that because if I go try to run like oil rig on day 1, there's enough large groups who want this loot and tier 3 fragments where they're bringing every member of their team on a scrap helicopter. And as a solo, I'm just not going to be killing 6 people when I have a Thompson against 6 full metal AKs. And the thing is that day 2 I can usually get a tier 3 because maybe members, like all 6 members of the group, might not be online and they'll just fly over on a mini, just 2 of them, and then maybe I can kill them, or maybe I can kill 1 and leave, or maybe just nobody ends up running the monument for like an hour and I just get a free monument run in. So I can usually get a tier 3 day 2, but I feel like I should be able to have that tier 3 day 1, just because it's like as a solo, I want to be set up to defend raids. I want to be set up in day 1 to fight these clans. And I feel like the best way to fight a clan, is just going to be on their same level. Whenever I have an AK against a decent sized team, I can usually kill 2 or 3 of them. Just skill wise, I am better as a solo than 2 or 3 of these group members. And, occasionally I kill more on exceptions, but like, the playing fields need to be even. And on day 1, they just never are. And as a solo, I basically just had to stick to myself and run, my tier 1 slash tier 2 monuments. And like I said, I usually control a quarry because what I can do if I control a quarry is I can just get a ridiculous amount of high qual, then be like, okay, 50 high qual for a tier 1 or a tier 3 fragment, and then that's how I get my tier 3 fragments. But I can't really run the monuments, and I feel like tier 3 fragments are really hard to come by right now. I feel like maybe they should have a chance to spawn in tier 2 monuments or something, maybe each tier 2 monument should have one elite crate, because they're pretty common out of elite crates to find a workbench fragment. So maybe each tier 2 monument should have one elite crate just to slightly make it easier to get a tier 3. And then maybe because it's just smaller groups need to access it not quicker than clans, but at a rate where it's like, like I said, a clan will get it, 3 hours into wipe. I want, our four mans to be getting it, maybe 5 hours into wipe, and I want our solos maybe to be getting it at 7 or 8 hours into wipe. It still should make sense that the larger groups get it quicker, just because that's how Rust is always going to be. There's never going to be a change that prevents that. That doesn't make the game not fun for large groups. And Rust groups will always be on top. That's just how the game is. Like that's just really if you have a problem with that, you should be playing a different game. Like it's just the nature of the game. You can't really do anything about it. But making it impossible, like the blueprint fragment system made it so that clans roam, but it made it unfortunately so that solo players are just fried for like a whole day trying to get a tier 3, and these other groups are able to get it fairly easily. So that's all I would really say. And I really liked his points about making it harder for clans to build a base, because clans can just build a base that solos can't do anything about. I remember back in the old day in Rust, clans, it wasn't a physical restriction. Like clans could build these big bases, but they were just too lazy to or something, or there weren't a crazy amount of base designs out there. So you'd have a lot of times where you could easily grub a clan. I mean, you can go back and watch one of the most popular like Wellen videos, solo versus clan, and it has like 20 million views. And you'll just see how, like, if you watch this video, you will see how different like solos like clans operate back then than how they do now. And I think making it so that clans, maybe it's harder to build a base. Like maybe it's 300 stone to upgrade a wall if you have like one teammate, but then it's 400 stone to upgrade a wall if you have two teammates. Something like that could be interesting. I don't know how they'd implement that, because if it's who's authorized to a TC, you could just have your builder be authorized to the TC, and it wouldn't make sense. It would be really hard to implement. But making it so that clans can't just build a giant, like freaking crazy base with 3 million turrets immediately would be a great change. But anyways, that's all I gotta say. A really good video by this guy. I'm glad
Mods
that
will
people are
only be
talking.
available in
I'm glad that people are talking about how to make Rust better. The only problem is I feel like Rust is in a pretty good state right now. It could be a lot better, and I like when people make videos like these because they're interesting. I like seeing how people's different perspectives. Um, and there are a lot of problems that Rust does have, but I feel like Rust is in a pretty good state right now, and that's where I'm gonna leave it. Anyways, you know, hey, subscribe to this channel if you're new. I haven't really made this type of video on this channel. If you know me from Guardian CS, how's it going? I'll probably start making just normal Rust videos, showcasing some of my solo wipes that I have pretty soon. They won't be common because they take me too much time and I have a job and school. But hey, subscribe to this channel if you're interested in that. Other than that, hey, I'm not gonna say what I normally say on my Guardian CS channel because that doesn't apply to Rust. But subscribe for more content. I don't know.